Once again, we're going to start a little early today. Give Dustin an opportunity to spend some time with us, and then he's going to have to excuse himself. He's got to go. He's one of the working guys, so he's got to get out of here. But thank you for working with us on that, and we appreciate it. I think you're going to really enjoy what these guys have to say, and two great guys. Had a little bit of time to spend with them here this morning, and covered their games back in the day as well. So, boy, do I feel old. All right. On behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Board of Directors and the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, I call to order the 32nd meeting of our 61st year of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Our invocation today, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, will be given by Jamie Walters from Real Hope Church. Jamie?
Thank you, Frank. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be back with you again. After the last time I was here, I was told that I didn't pray long enough. And that, and between my good friend, County Commissioner Richard Regula, who's over here, Richard asked for a sermon, so I... If you would pray with me, please. Loving and gracious God, we thank you for this beautiful spring day that you have given us. Thank you for the joy of creation that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for the breeze, for the birds, for the flowers, for the trees that are all coming back to life. That reminds us of our eternal life in you, Lord. Lord, we thank you for the Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Thank you for all the things that it does in our community. We thank you for sports that can bring us together in an often hurting and divided world. Lord, we pray for Dustin and Derek today. We thank them for joining us. Lord, just ask that you be with us during our time together. I pray these things in the great and glorious name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jamie, and yes, I could use some of those prayers, so you can make it as long as you want next time.
I'm writing that down.
Okay, I want to introduce certainly our head table. To my far left, and he's one of our board of trustees, also does our videos, TJ Downing. We've got Dustin and Derek Fox. Obviously you heard from Jamie Walters. And sitting with our clergy this month is Becky Richards. I want to recognize the sponsors, the folks that donate to our cause. I want to thank them for everything they do. Liberty Ford, Aultcare's Primetime Health Plan, Wilkshire Golf Course, the Marion Motley Memorial Fund Scholarship, and Dr. Peter Ferguson Chiropractic. Thank you so much. Okay, speaking of Wilkshire, don't forget, we are having our annual dinner as well as our golf outing on Monday, May 20th. So tickets have been for sale this morning. We'll have them again next week. The golf information is back there as well. So we hope you can get a foursome together. If you have a twosome or just an individual, let us know. Maybe we can find a couple golfers for you as well. So tickets are on sale here for the next 2 weeks. I talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame residency program. I mentioned that each week, and that's really going strong. I've had a chance, believe it or not, to run into a couple of these guys out and about. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is bringing in a Hall of Famer once a week to just kind of hang out in Canton, see what it's like. This is their other home, and it's really worked out great. They go to the schools. I know they've talked to a lot of the football teams. I know they've been to some of the nursing homes. They're on the radio. I mean, they're doing a lot of things. This past week was Robert Brazil. If you guys remember Dr. Doom, man. Wow. Woo. And then this week, Donnie Shell, former Steeler, will be in town. So look for him. He'll be out and about. The Cavs Well, Cavs, they dropped a couple games this past week, Thursday night and then Saturday they lost again. So that series is tied 2-2, but they are back home tomorrow night. All right, things will change, I guarantee it. It's the NBA. Guardians are off today, but they open up a series against the Houston Astros tomorrow night as well. So playing very, very well. So Stephen Vogt has them playing and going in the right direction. That's great. I do see him back there. Congratulations to club member Sam Dudich. Sam, where are you? Wave. Sam was inducted into the Akron East High School Hall of Fame for his 46 years of football officiating. Congratulations. One of the few officials I like. Well, Saliola. All right. Anybody wants a copy of the financial statements? So last week Tim Richard went over the financials. We do have that. See Tim for that and the golf forms. Make sure you pick one of those up. Also, it's my duty to let you know that there will probably be a $1 increase in the meals for next year. Inflation, obviously, cost of goods and everything, so be prepared for probably at least $1 increase in the meals for next year, okay? All right, now the good news, we've got $168 in the 50-50, so we'll ask one of the Fox brothers here to pull that ticket, and he'll be your best friend for the next few weeks.
When I win, I'm going to give it all back, I promise.
Take that one? All right.
Boy, we're going to get there.
All right, I know.
Yeah, we're waiting.
You guys are all waiting for it. 774-204. $168. Ozzy's got the money.
I got the pink ones.
Right over here, Oz.
Again.
774-204.
Boys, these two things.
Right over there, he's got his hand up. Okay, before I turn it over to TJ, I want to mention who our speaker is next week. Okay, he's a guy that in the past has been our final speaker, but this year we've bumped him up a week. We've got 2 more weeks of meetings. Archie Griffin is our final speaker, and next week we have Coach Bob Huggins, born in Morgantown, West Virginia. That's right. Huggins has an illustrious basketball career as a player for WVU, where he earned recognition as 2-time All-American. This is a basketball family, guys, you know this. Upon graduation, Huggins embarked on a coaching journey that eventually brought him back to his alma mater at WVU. Under his leadership, WVU experienced an unprecedented success, including multiple NCAA tournament appearances and a memorable run in the Final Four back in 2010, solidifying his status as one of the most successful coaches in Mountaineer history. And now we all know what's been going on with Coach Huggins, so it'll be interesting and it'll be great to hear from him next week. I think it'll be interesting and worthwhile for him to speak to us in that regard. So looking forward to having Coach Huggy here. All right. Now to introduce our speakers today. He's a board trustee and a former GlenOak graduate and a former alumni with one of the Fox brothers at the Ohio State University. Please welcome TJ Downs.
I get double duty today. How about that? Hey, this is my first time up here in front of this thing. They say it's supposed to be slimming. How do I look? Thank you, guys. Don't mess it up, all right? I'll tell you what, my first introduction to the Fox brothers. My family first moved up here. My mother and I moved up in 1997, and I was going to Taft Junior High. And I think we got a couple of former teachers out there, Mr. Wirtz, Senior Ramos, long time playing local guys. GlenOak teachers, there was always this buzz going around, you know, and Derek's a little bit older, but it was the Fox brothers, I'm here at Taft, I'm thinking, I got this Dustin Fox guy, they just keep talking about Dustin Fox, like it was the next coming, right? I'm like, yeah, and it just, first of all, anybody that ever walked into the Hall of Fame Fitness Center gym and you saw Derek Fox walk in there, if you weren't sweating, I think they started sweating. Because the athleticism of these two guys, it's different. And if you got a chance to see it when they were a little bit younger, it was impressive. Obviously a big reason why many college recruiters from around the country came knocking for both of these guys. Derek would go on to star at Penn State. The defensive MVP in the Alamo Bowl was a staple on Joe Paterno's defense. When I first got a chance to see Derek out, and we all know with professional sports, it's not easy. Just getting a shot at it is a rare thing, to let alone make a professional roster. And you know, I saw Derek. I was there in a bird's eye view to see him. Was it 4 consecutive final cuts in the NFL? I mean, this guy right here. If I would want anybody on my team, it was a guy like Derek Fox, right? And it shows you how difficult it is. But as I'm sitting there in one of the classrooms, and Derek comes walking in. I think his first gig was substitute teacher, right? And all my buddies looking at each other, well, this is going to be an easy class today. But you know, I was always just I was in awe of Derek and just his work ethic and the way he went about his business, and then I think the way he kind of pushed that on to Dustin. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have an older brother, let alone an older brother like Derek, who was a Division I stud in college football, you know, that was something that there was a bar for Dustin to look at. And I'll tell you what, Dustin surely achieved it. Now, I had the fortunate pleasure of blocking for him at GlenOak. He was my tailback. It did always kind of bother me that, you know, you see his hair the way it is now. You know, we'd go out there, long touchdown run, whatever. I'd come off on him looking like an absolute slob, soaking wet, spit, slobber, blood everywhere. And Dustin would pop his helmet off, and his hair looked exactly just like that. How do you do it, man? How do you do it? But obviously, as an offensive lineman, for myself, when people are coming in and looking at a guy like Dustin Fox, they say, "Oh, who's that guy number 72 out there?" Right? And so, as much of my career I owe and getting looked at to Dustin, because he was just it was an absolute pleasure to be able to play alongside him. You know, to go down to Ohio State, that was Coach Tress's first recruiting class after Coop was let go. Instantly, the first thing that sticks out, the 2 top things that stick out to me, if you're a former Ohio State football player, you want to achieve the ultimate 2 things. It's being a captain of your team and winning a national championship, and he did both of those. Yep. Dustin would go on to play in the NFL, has his own radio show now on 92.3, does a phenomenal job also in the broadcasting world on ESPN. It's a fortunate pleasure of mine to be able to call both these guys friends and family, and without further ado, Dustin and Derek Fox.
I got a few things. No, listen, I've learned one thing in my life is to stay out of the way of him and a microphone, okay? So a couple things. Number one, I thought I was taking a day off today. For those of you who don't know me, which I know so many of you tonight, I'm in the medical device business. I sell knee and hip replacements for a living. I didn't know how many patients I was going to sign up today when I walked in here. So, where's Harold? Where's Harold? Yeah. This reminds me of a place that, who knows Naples, Florida at all? Anybody know Naples? Everybody from Canton moves to Naples. There's a place called Bill's Seafood, and this reminds me of it. And usually when you go to Bill's, the average age is deceased, and that's what I feel like today in this room. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's a couple more things.
They just brought Derek to insult everybody. There you go.
When I got this alert on my phone just a few moments ago, it's a little bit disturbing, but it's all okay. It said that one of the athletic dorms had just burnt down at Ohio State. So the football, what's it called? The one wing? It had burned down, but everyone's safe. They said all their books did burn in the fire, and unfortunately they weren't even colored in yet. So it's gonna be all right. Hey, let me tell you, it's an honor to be here today. With the things TJ said, blesses my heart. This community has been very good to our family. And so, you know, I could relocate to a lot of places around the country. I've stayed here, raised my children here, had great success here, and appreciate all the support and all the love that even just walking in today. So with that, I'll let Dustin. I've got a million stories. Honestly, we could go on about Woody Hayes, Joe Paterno, Mark D'Antonio, Jim Tressel. I mean, and we will get into some of these because it is a pretty cool legacy. You probably may or may not know this. We have 10 of our family members played college football. 9 of the 10 were Division I athletes, between the Steyers, the Foxes, and the Coons of Louisville. You saw OJ had passed away last week, and the first thing I could think of is, and Dustin actually bailed me out because I wanted to show this picture that was in the repository. Uncle Mark Steyer, who was captain and MVP of the 1968 National Championship team, but his claim to fame was he had made OJ fumble on the goal line. The Buckeyes recover, win the game, win the national championship. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing, and we've got a lot more stories like that. But like I said, he loves the camera, he loves the mic, so you're up.
Thanks for the joke about the Buckeyes. You know what's great about going to Ohio State? They didn't want him. How about that?
They're going to believe everything you say today, so let's keep it above the belt. Let's keep it above the belt.
You know, at least I can walk up here and say, OH! No one's responding to we are, you know what I mean? No, in all seriousness, it's great to be here. I believe this is my 3rd time being on this stage talking to all of you. It's so good to be back in Canton, our hometown, you know, the Hall of Fame city. It's great to be around all of you. We see so many familiar faces, or some teachers, family, friends, you know, people we've known throughout the years. So it is an honor and privilege to be here. So thank you for that. Thanks to TJ. TJ, you should just speak. I mean, take over. My God, it was fantastic for the introduction. Thank you so much for that. I certainly would not be where I'm at without the help of you and so many other teammates throughout the years. I'm telling you, TJ, this kid, when I remember, because I was, 1 year older or 2 years older? 1 year older. Okay, so I'm a sophomore. And TJ, like you said, he had just got to Canton, and I remember walking in the football locker room. I had no clue who this guy was. He was the biggest son of a gun I'd ever seen in my life. I'll keep it clean. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then he goes on to obviously great things. But every time I got the football, I was like, man, where's 72? Okay, I'm going to run behind him. And boy, he opened up some lanes for me. And it's so funny, too. You know, I ended up going to Ohio State as a defensive back. But I barely played defensive back in high school. It was wild because, you know, Jack Rose. Is Jack Rose here? No, sometimes he's here. Coach Rose, man, I kill him every time because all he did was he'd run toss right, toss left, and tire my ass out because it was like running 50 yards to gain 10. But anyway, I digress. But I always wanted to run behind 72, and he certainly he's gone on to do great things and All-American, Ohio State, you know, the whole deal, and played in the NFL as well. So thanks for that, TJ. We really appreciate that. So listen, not much has changed in my life since the last time I was here. I'm still hosting the radio show up in Cleveland on 92.3 The Fan. I know some of you guys probably want to talk about some Cleveland sports, so we can definitely get into that. Tough weekend for the Cavaliers. My God, what the hell's going on with these guys? It's like I thought they were going to just blow them out of the water after the first couple of games. So we can talk a little bit about that. We can talk some stories about you know, college football, which, boy, the landscape of college football, has it changed? My goodness. I mean, it's since we played, Derek. I mean, it's, boy, I wish we could have got some cash.
Did you see the news today?
Yeah, there was
the news today, Memphis.
Derek saw this news today. FedEx just donated $25 million to the Memphis football team
to their collective.
to their collective. So
Yeah, these boys are making some cash now, so that has certainly changed a lot. It's interesting. TJ talked about us growing up and all these things, and my brother, who was or is still 5 years older than me, I
love when they ask, though. I love when they ask.
I think I've got better hair. So, no, in all seriousness, my brother was always sort of my hero growing up, and he was hard on me. It was one of those deals where, I've got a son now who's 11 years old, and he's very similar to the way I was when I was a kid. Kind of not really into sports. Was more probably interested in pizza and chicken tenders than I was, getting out there and exercising. Video games, that's right. But I'll never forget. It's a great story. I'll tell it quickly here because Derek wants to talk about all this Penn State stuff. But I remember wasn't like what, 4th grade, Derek, something like that.
It was B League, so it was
B League, yeah. So like Pee Wee football and. I wasn't a very tough kid. I was on the offensive line. I was overweight, like I talked about those chicken tenders and that pizza. It was right there, buddy. I mean, it was not great. But anyway, our coach at the time, Coach Church. John Church, yeah. So we were the Cougars and PLMF, yeah, back in the day. So I'm at home, and we had a pretty rough practice, and I didn't do very well. Well, the phone rings, and Derek answers the phone. It's my Pee Wee football coach, Coach Church, and he says, we have women in here, so I can't use too much language, but he basically called me a wussy with a different first letter. Okay, so you guys got that? Soft, whatever you want to call it, and so. I'll never forget, I wasn't in the room when the phone rang, and I go downstairs, and Derek is just red, and he looked like he's ready to kill somebody. And again, I'm like 11 years old, and Derek's a 16-year-old, okay? And he's, pretty yoked, and I'm just a kid. And Derek starts MFing me, and all of a sudden he yells, "Get your pads on right now!" I said, "Holy shit, what's going on?" I don't think I said that, but I was thinking that. And so I did. I put on my full uniform before practice, and I don't know. Derek says, "Get out in the front yard." And I'm like, okay. So I got my full uniform on. I'm trembling, I'm shaking, I'm probably half crying. And I get on the front yard, and Derek's out there. He's shirtless. And I got my full uniform on, and he stands there, and he just says, "Come at me." And I tried. Boy, did I try. And he just knocked the living tar out of me multiple times. In fact, it was so bad the neighbors were on a walk and they stopped to check and make sure everything was okay. Because can you imagine walking up the street and then seeing somebody just kicking the crap out of an 11-year-old? It wasn't the finest moment at the Fox household, but I'll tell you what, that moment stuck with me because it really toughened me up, and it made me realize, what it took, to get to that next level. And again, he was just a sophomore in high school, but that was an amazing moment for me because I remember it to this day. And, I was in that moment where I didn't really know what I was going to be as an athlete. I was just kind of the chunky kid, the husky boy, and he was the superstar athlete that was getting recruited and slam dunking on everybody and, doing everything you could imagine athletically that a white boy shouldn't be doing. I'm telling you that much. It was incredible. I mean, the greatest athlete I ever saw, growing up was Derek Fox. So I just wanted to be like him, and then I just happened to go on and be a better athlete. But I'll say this quickly. He went to Penn State. We joke a lot about that, and the funny thing about it, and the reality is, for 4 years, Derek was playing at Penn State in Happy Valley, and I would go with our family and watch every single game. So for 4 years, I was the biggest Penn State fan, diehard fan, wearing the blue and white, wearing the jerseys, everything I had, my whole closet was blue and white. And I found it very hard. Penn State actually offered me a full scholarship when I was a sophomore. It was my first ever offer, and I was blown away. I'm 16 years old. Did you get any offers when you were 16? don't think so. Okay. So I got the offer, and I was like blown away, you know. And not too far after that, Ohio State came, and so I had the offers from Ohio State, Penn State, and I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to go to school because I was just a kid, you know, and there were so many offers coming in. Notre Dame, heck, I even visited that team up north one time, but I didn't know any better at the time. So listen, forgive me, Lord. So I ended up my senior year, right before my senior year. Coach Cooper, who had recruited me, they went out there in the Outback Bowl. Y'all remember this against South Carolina in 2000, and got their doors blown off. And that was it. You know, you can't beat Michigan. You get embarrassed in the Outback Bowl. They fired Coach Cooper, and so I was really distraught about it. I didn't know if I was who the coach was going to be at Ohio State. So I, at that time, was committed to Ohio State, decommit from Ohio State, and take an official visit to Penn State. And so not a lot of people know this story. I've told it a few times, but I actually committed to Joe Paterno, and I was going to go to Penn State until Jim Tressel gets hired to Ohio State. And so we take an official visit to Ohio State.
You got to go backwards. I tell the story much better.
Well, Derek says he tells the story better, so why don't you tell the story?
No, you guys want to get the full effect of the story. So he was committed. Cooper gets fired. Tressel comes calling. If you guys remember this, and I'm sure many of you do, it was a Monday night in the winter, a January night, I believe, and Ohio State was playing basketball against Michigan. And Tressel gets introduced and says, "Hey, in 300 and some days from now, we're going to
10 days.
10 days, we're going to kick Michigan's butt." And
You'll be proud of your young people.
And called that night. So Friday morning, this was Monday
He
night.
said he was going to tell it so good.
Friday morning at my parents' house, Jim Tressel made his very first recruiting visit as an Ohio State head coach to my parents' living room. And he brought in Mark D'Antonio with him, who followed him over and was going to become his defensive coordinator. And those guys sat there, I can remember like it was yesterday, in our living room, and they were gentlemen, they were professional, they were buttoned up, and Tressel looked at me and he said, "We just want you to come do an official visit." I said, we got to do that. I was actually playing for the Indianapolis Colts at the time, and I was home because they didn't take me on the road with them or anything like that. And I said, "I'm going to come with you to Columbus and we'll do this visit because I think it's the least you can do." So that next weekend we went to Columbus. I remember spending all night with Mark D'Antonio, getting to know him, getting to learn just sort of their coaching philosophies, about them as a person. And and Dustin was like sort of looking at me and say, "Hey, what should I do?" I'm like, "I'm really torn, what should I do?" And I said, "Here's the deal." I said, "You're coming here, okay? You're coming to Ohio State." I said, "But I'm not calling Joe. You're gonna call Joe and tell him you're not coming."
So let me add, good job out of you. So we were there on the official visit, and Derek and I, Tressel calls me and him into his office. And so Derek and I go into his office. Parents are outside, probably walking around, getting a tour, all that stuff at the facility. So it's just Derek and I. We go in and sit down with Tress, and we weren't talking X's and O's. We weren't talking any of that stuff. We were talking about life. We were talking about family, morals, tradition, all these things that are important. God, things that are part of the Blocko of life, so to speak, right? I mean, in Tressel, for the first time we'd ever seen was the Winner's Manual. Many people have heard about the Winner's Manual, a very cool thing that Tressel does every single year, and he updates it. He gets bigger than that. Things like the Bible now. I mean, it's sometimes when I was when I graduated, went to the NFL, he would send those updated ones to us. Anyway, so we're in the office with Coach Tress, and we're going through the whole thing. He hands the Winner's Manual to Derek and I, and we look at it. And Derek was really blown away with it. I was blown away with it. And I'll never forget the moment we walked out, we left Tressel's office, we walked out in the hallway, it was Derek and I, and he looked at me and he says, I'll never forget his words. You know what you said? You know what you said, right? He said, "It's a no-brainer." And once he said that to me, it was almost like I got his stamp of approval, and because I looked up to him so much, it was done. And so I was locked in. So I committed to Penn State, or Ohio State at the time, Ohio State at the time. And then Derek brought up the predicament, right? I mean, so now I got 2 girlfriends, okay? You know, I got Penn State, I got Ohio State, and neither one knows that someone's getting broken up with here, okay? So, like he said, you got to make the call. Oh my God, I don't think I slept for a couple days because I knew I had to make that call to Coach Paterno and let him know. And I did. You know, I called him up one night and got him on the phone. And I'll never forget telling him, like, Coach, you know, I got some bad news for you. I said, I'm decommitting and I'm going to go to Ohio State. And I know you're going to be disappointed. And he stopped me right there. And he goes, hey, relax. Listen. He goes, it's okay, Foxy, it's okay. We're still going to be family. And it was amazing to hear. And it's not as good of an impersonation as Derek can do, but it was good. And he said that to me, and I was so relieved. And it just made me just love Coach even more for that moment because he was such a good man and all the things he did for Derek and our family. We were both so lucky, oh my goodness, to play for the coaches that we had. Not just at the college level, but the high school level, the Pee Wee football level. We were so blessed to have so many great coaches. And I just look, you know, I look back, I was with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2006. I still have the picture. I have it on my, the team photo. It's on my refrigerator because people come over. I want to show them every single person in there who was like a head coach. I'm like, oh, there's Andy Reid, yeah, Super Bowl champion. Okay, there's Sean McDermott, yeah, head coach of the Bills. Okay, there's Pat Shurmur. Yeah, you know, he's a good coordinator. John Harbaugh, yeah, he's my special teams coach. I mean, so we had so many great coaches that we were able to play for, and Derek's got $1 million too. Not just Paterno. I mean, he played for Jim Mora. He had a chance to play for the Rams and Coach Martz, and you know all those great coaches. So we're really lucky. We couldn't have made a poor decision either way. He wishes he doesn't. I don't think you wish. Maybe you wish. I don't know. Do you wish you would have went to Ohio State?
Yeah, it sneaks in there sometimes.
It's debatable, right? Okay. But he had a great career at Penn State. They were #1 in the country. You know, they had one of the greatest defenses that I've ever seen. And it was, I mean, think about this. His roommates in college were LeVar Arrington, David Macklin, who went on and had a great pro career as a corner, and Courtney Brown, the #1 overall. Those were his roommates. And I'd go to his dorm, and I'm looking around. I mean, these guys are like towering, the biggest guys in the world. So those were his roommates, and you know, boy, we have so many amazing stories. I'm going to talk all day unless Derek takes over. So he's got some stories to tell. We'll come back. We'll do a little Q&A. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about because Derek and I, we love telling stories, and certainly I know you guys like hearing them. So Dee, you want to tell a couple things?
Nice job, Dustin. Yeah, I actually, Joe Paterno taught me this. So there's not a day that goes by I don't think about him. Probably almost every hour of the day, the way he sort of raised us. I was pretty bad in school. Mr. Wertz can attest to that. I was pretty. We'll use the word ornery. And even when I went to college, I was still pretty ornery. And after my freshman year, and I didn't know this till probably 2 years after the fact, Joe took me aside, and he was always, for those of you who know this, actually my wife and I had birthed a child in high school, and I can't make this up. The night we were playing basketball against Perry High School at GlenOak Gymnasium, and Joe Paterno and Greg Schiano are in the gym because I pretty much went to Penn State because I loved Coach Schiano so much. He was 29 years old at the time. I played a basketball game, I had 25 points, we beat Perry, I dunked on the first play of the game, places erupting, I'd never seen so many people in a gymnasium before, and after the game, I'm going to Alman Hospital to have a kid, right? I'm 18, I just turned 18, my girlfriend Tara, she was 17, and he goes, get out of here, go see your kid, we'll be fine. So they were fortunate. They were flying private.
His was better. His impersonation.
And so Coach Schiano and Greg was the best. He literally would come almost once a week to GlenOak to see me. He would just come and we would go to Olive Garden. I'd get the same thing every time. He says I'm gonna get fat, so I was eating fettuccine Alfredo and a Diet Coke. Every time he would say you're gonna get fat, and I'm like I'm gonna be fine. And he would come to the house, and my dad had this police scanner. You guys remember this police scanner? You could dial in anything. You could hear all the conversations going around the police, and then we'd get up and we'd hear our neighbors' conversations. Then we'd call the neighbors and tell them what they were saying and freak them out. So the one night we're at the house, and you guys remember the caller ID, right? It was such a cool, we had a caller ID, and it was 614 area code, and it was Fred Puggich calling the house. And for whatever reason, I don't know how Greg was there and was allowed to be there, but they weren't allowed to call the house. And Shiano picks up my parents' phone, and it's Freddie Puggich. If you don't know who Freddie was, he was the D coordinator at Ohio State, and he was my roommate with Uncle Tim at Ohio State. But they did a bad job recruiting me early on. We can get into that. And Shiano just ripped him a new one, man, for calling me in a restricted period. And that was, I just got such a kick out of that. I actually feel bad. Dustin, if you listen to his show or not, he likes to gamble a little bit, okay? And I fully feel the responsibility of sort of that addiction, because when we were kids, we'd sit around me and it was whatever we could do. We'd be playing euchre, we'd play spades, we'd roll dice, we'd play dominoes, we'd bet on this, bet on who could make the free throw from outside the house. And Dustin would be there. He would have no money. He'd go to my friends and be like, give me a quarter. Give me 50 cents. Let me get in the game. He wanted to get some action. He likes the action too much. But I will say though, I was not being recruited for football. I wasn't, never really crossed my mind. I mean, someone brought it up to me today. I forget who brought it to me at the Civic Center game against McKinley. And Ohio State was there recruiting Che Bryant. You guys remember Che Bryant was a big time player. And we were playing basketball against him, and it wasn't Che, but it was Mike McLeod, who was their All-Ohio stud player and had a fast break, and it was him and I. And I'm thinking, this is not going to be pretty. And I could see it in his eyes, he was going to try to dunk the basketball on me. And he went up, and I took that basketball, and I grabbed it, and I put it right up against the backboard, and the place just went nuts. And Cooper was there that night, and Lovie Smith was there that night, and a bunch of others. And all of a sudden the phone just starts lighting up for football because of a play I made on a basketball court. Speaking of basketball courts, they knew I was going to get into sales when I got older, because I did my first business deal when I was 12 years old. I did.
You mean tell?
Go ahead.
Make sure you tell the part.
If I screw up, you can jump in. So you were about, what, 12 you said?
So I was 12.
Roughly 12 years old. And man, Derek and I were always, like, it's different now. Like, kids, I got 2 young kids, and like, I barely let them out of my sight. Back when we were kids, we'd be gone like all day on our bikes. We'd do whatever the heck we wanted to. Parents didn't have the thing to worry about. Anyway, so the point is, Derek and I were always out in the neighborhood doing things, whatever. And our next door neighbors across the street were getting their driveway resurfaced. And so I'll never forget this. Derek walks over, is 12 years old, walks over to the contractor doing the driveway next door, and he asks him for an estimate on a basketball court in our backyard. 12 years old. And on this guy, he looked like Marion. Remember, he had the mustache and he had like this yellow, because he was doing cement work. And I'll never forget, he walks over and Derek's literally getting this guy to give us an estimate. Guy's out there measuring everything, and for a kid. And Derek gets the information, and I'll never forget when Dad got home. Dad got the full presentation from the young salesman over here. Did I tell it right? Yeah, it's good. So good. So anyway, we got a basketball court that Derek brokered through the next door neighbor's contractor. So that was pretty cool. And that's really where we spent all of our time. I mean, listen, it wasn't the biggest court in the world, but we had every game. Every person in our neighborhood was over there.
There was 2 hoops.
We had 2 hoops. It was a small full court in the backyard, and we just, every day was pickup games in the summertime. Derek, you went to he was the baller. I can't believe he played football, because he, to me, and people here who watched him play hoops in high school would say he's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. If you were 5 inches taller, you'd be in the league, but I still don't know why you didn't play at Penn State basketball, but nonetheless, he would You know, the brothers used to love playing with him. You know, they would come over here our house all the time. You brought like guys that were that ended up going to the NBA. I mean, that was really kind of our mecca growing up in where I had some good times and some bad times. You know, back in the day, it was so cool that you could like lower the hoops, you know, so you could dunk on like 7 feet or whatever. And I was really super young, and so there was one day I had a couple of my buddies over, and we're outside. We got those little mini basketballs. Probably got it at the Cavs game or something, and you know, we're out there and we're just dunking on like 7 feet, and we're just like hanging on the rim and everything. And I'll never forget, Derek was inside, and he comes out storming again. The beat red Derek, who looks like he's ready to kill somebody, and he comes out, and I don't know where you got it, but somehow he had a wrench in his hand, and he was so mad at me for hanging on the rims, because he didn't want me to break the rims, because you know that was where he lived, basically, his pride and joy. And so, I don't know how you got so lucky to hit, but he threw the wrench at me. Yeah, he threw the wrench at me, and it just so happened it hit my foot in the perfect way, where I ended up in the ER with a broken foot. And God bless it, man. The older brothers, they tend to get you. So our backyard was a lot of fun. That wasn't the first time he hit me. I remember the Boyer's house next door. We were playing
The running game.
well, it wasn't just, well, that was another story, but we were playing wiffle ball or something. Derek hit me with the baseball bat right in the head. That was another story. I mean, I'm lucky to be here. I mean, honestly, I don't know how he survived. And then you go on to football and all the concussions. I mean, shoot, I probably had 8 concussions by the time I got to high school. And this guy, I mean, come on. But no, that was a lot of fun growing up. The basketball court was where we sort of made our hay, and that's where he became such a great player. I was just kind of an average player trying to make it on the varsity team. But Derek, there's your basketball story.
I'm just looking out for your time.
Yeah, how much time do we have?
12:30.
Oh, 12:30, okay. You want to talk about?
I just whatever they want to do.
Yeah, well, let's ask you guys. What else do you guys want to hear about? We could talk about anything for all day. I mean, and I'm going to go talk for 5 hours after this anyway, so get me warmed up. Yeah.
Can you tell me your dad's name, please?
My dad's name?
Yeah.
Randy Fox.
Who's Warren? Is he
Warren is.
Oh my God,
Dude,
that's great.
Oh, you're gonna take me down another road.
That's our grandfather.
It's our grandfather who was a basketball coach at Lincoln way back in the
He was my
day.
basketball coach when I played in grade school.
So
I
that's.
just remember 2 little boys running around the gym right there.
Well, here we are. So when Derek and we found out RJ got us to come today, and we were supposed to come back in a couple months ago. Either way, we're here. And I told Derek before we came, I said, Derek, the over-under is going to be 5.5 of people. He told him I'm a gambler, right? 5.5 is the over-under of how many people come up to us and talk about Warren Fox, because he was something. And he passed away when I was 7 years old. Derek was 12, as he was doing the contracting with the brokering those deals. But no, Grandpa Fox was amazing, and so many people have great memories of him from maybe not so great memories. He had a temper too, but he was a great basketball coach growing up. So we had some lineage there, and obviously Warren was Tim Fox's father as well. As Tim Fox, All-American at Ohio State, and played in the league for a decade as a safety. So yeah, that's who Warren is.
Thank you. That was driving me nuts.
Well, now you can sleep.
This is more or less directed at Derek.
Yeah.
How did Tim Fox let Derek go to Penn State?
Great question.
It's funny. It got to be too late. The Buckeyes really weren't in the picture. I went to some camp. I went to Ohio State camp. I went to Penn State camp. Joe offered me on the spot. Ohio State still had not offered me a scholarship. And by the time that they were offering me, it was too late. I fell in love with Joe, Schiano, the university itself. It's a great school. It's a great area of the country.
I got the story.
Huh?
Junior Day story.
I mean, and then Buckeyes reeled back, and I remember being at a friend's house we were playing euchre or shooting pool or something.
Betting.
And Mr. Laymiller says, Derek, there's a John Cooper on the phone. He's calling for you. And I'm like, what? Is this like a prank call? And these guys were tracking me down. Then Archie Griffin calls after that. They had got, I don't know how they knew I was at Jason's house. They called it, Bubbles was his name. And these guys were tracking me down, but it was just too late. Archie wrote a letter to the house. He was calling my mom. It was just too late. And my uncles, they ended up fully supporting it. You know, I mean, how can you go wrong, you know? So, I mean, there's definitely would have been some benefit of being a Buckeye. There's no doubt about it. Being the fact I do my business here and have lived here my whole life, raised my kids here. But I have no regrets playing for Joe Paterno.
Tell the Archie story.
Who's?
The Archie story.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't remember? Oh, that's why we're here together. So, I was, you were a junior in high school, so you were probably 16, 17 years old, and I was, again, 5 years younger than you. That didn't change. So, we're down at junior day. Derek was already committed to Penn State at the time. And so we're junior day, and it's me, my mom, and Derek. And you know, we're in the Woody Hayes facility down at the indoor facility at Ohio State. They're having like a lunch, and we did the whole tour thing. We're having the lunch or whatever, and Archie was there, and Archie, spoke to the group, and he came over to us and kind of greeted us. But that was it. It was kind of like a very quick greeting. It wasn't like my mom was trying to talk to him a little bit more, and now keep in mind that Archie Griffin was in Uncle Tim's wedding.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. They were in each other's wedding. So basically family, and my mom was at both weddings and all that stuff, and so we didn't really talk to her. And then didn't really talk to Derek. And so that really rubbed our family in kind of a not great way, put it that way. And so that is when he really committed, was locked in on Penn State. It wasn't that Ohio State wasn't interested. I think that they just didn't know how much interest you were going to garner. And then Penn State came in, of course, and just kind of stole the show. And you know what, I would say this much about Derek's situation and him going to Penn State. He mentioned that he was a little bit of a, what was the word you used, Derek? Ornery? Heathen? Immature? All those things, whatever. But he needed Penn State. Penn State provided structure for him, having a child, getting married, all these things that happened very quickly for him in college. I don't think it would have happened at Ohio State. I don't. Ohio State at the time, great football team. I just don't think that they were the place for you. So I don't think you have any regrets on not going to Ohio State, other than the fact that everyone makes fun of you. But that's it. He had a great time. They had a great team. I had a great team at Ohio State. We both made the right call. Because I ended up going to Ohio State, winning a national championship. Had I gone to Penn State, I would have won 6 games in 4 years. That was the stretch. I'm not joking. They were not good.
Met my business partner.
Yeah. So Derek met his business partner. They were roommates, and now they have this very successful company. They work together. It's pretty cool that their ties from Penn State has now led them to their careers, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I'll have my business card for anybody whose knees or hips are bothering. Just meet me at the front door, yes.
You guys didn't know you were coming to an orthopedic convention today? He's got a slideshow for you later.
Did you happen to reach out at all because Todd Blackledge had gone there? Did you happen to reach out to him at all for any advice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I absolutely did, and he was very he was sort of unbiased about it, but he gave me how he felt. And listen, by the time I actually reached out to Todd, our mind was sort of made up. He just sort of stamped what we believed and what we thought in. Joe, this is the one thing that it gets in my head a little bit. Joe could have really cared less if I would have played professional football. Actually, I know he didn't. He could have cared less. He was all about us getting a good job, raising a family, being a pillar in a community, all the things, right? Look people in the eye, shake their hand, shave your face, show up on time. You say never trusted a man that didn't wear a watch because time was everything. And it's a thief, right? And so when I was sort of saying, hey, I'm done with football, I got to get a real job. I got my 3rd kid on the way. I got to get a real job. This practice squad stuff isn't awesome. And so Joe called some people for me, and when I got my job, I called and I saved the message as long as I could, right, till you don't have answering machines anymore. But he called and he's like, Foxy, I heard you got the job. He's like, now hurry up and get to become president of that company. And about 11 years later, that's exactly what I did. And so I've been CEO of my own company, Apex Surgical, since 2010. And it's been good. We actually will treat, just this week alone, I looked at my books this morning, we'll treat about 600 patients this week that have osteoarthritis and need a new hip or a knee or a shoulder. You know, I think Dr. Koss, that's why, where's Harold? That's why Steve isn't here today. He's putting in some of my implants over at the surgery center. That's right. So, I don't know, I had a bunch of, Joe was just, dude, he was everything. I can't say enough. I really can't say enough. When the terrible stuff happened, it was 2009, I could be wrong. I was taking clients out to watch Penn State play Nebraska, and they had announced that Joe was no longer going to be the head coach at Penn State. And I'm telling you, I couldn't believe it. I was in tears, and something came over me that weekend to go to his house. Okay, and all the TV trucks were lined up outside. The reporters, it was sort of a zoo, right? And I mean, Joe, this was Joe, right? He lived in a very modest home across from campus. He could walk to work, and he did walk to work a lot of times in his younger days. And so I went to his house, and I told my two buddies who were with me, I said, hey, just give me a few minutes. Let's see. I got to at least go thank him for everything he did for me. And sure as heck, I mean, I knocked on the door. Sue comes, Mrs. Paterno comes to the door, welcomes me in. One day she wanted to make me a sub sandwich. I swear to goodness, we're sitting there at the table, his kids are there. We're sort of getting emotional. He never said one word about what had happened. All he cared about was how was my career going? How was my family doing? How my parents were doing? And that's all he did was just kept asking, he's peppering me with questions. How's this going? How's that going? And that's the kind of guy Joe is. And if you've been around Tom Blackledge or any other alumni, you know that's the MO. So.
Yeah, and just to piggyback that, you know, so many coaches, you know, this day and age get a bad rap for being all about the money or, you know, not caring about the kids. Certainly, you know, after they graduate and can't help them win games anymore. And, you know, Derek and I were so fortunate to be around coaches that did care about us and became not just coaches, but more father figures to us. And I was so lucky to be around some great coaches. I mean, you mentioned Paterno and you know, God rest his soul. Jim Tressel's still with us, and Coach, same thing. I mean, I will talk to Coach once a month, once every couple of months. I mean, it's a text, it's a call, whatever, and we at least chat once a year, a good chat. And he does it for all his players. You know, it really is remarkable. And I got to run here in a couple of minutes. I'll give you a good story here to end. And this was really special to me. It happened last year. This was in the summertime. I get a random text from Coach Tress, and it is about, it was random. It was in the middle of summer last year, and he said, hey Foxy, what's your address? So I text him back my address. Think nothing of it until like a week later or 5 days later, I get this like FedEx package delivered to my house. It's like that thick. I'm like, what is this? And it says his address on it. It says Jim Tress. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? So I open it up, and then I assumed that's why he asked for my address, because he was going to send me something. And I open it up, and it is things that he saved from my career. I mean, unbelievable stuff. He had, there was a birthday card in there from my grandma that my grandma had sent to him years ago. And there was a picture in there of me and him from way back when. There was evaluations of what he thought about me when I was a player, and some of them were just, I mean, I was in tears because reading his handwriting, and keep in mind this was 23 years ago that he was writing all this stuff about me. You know, I'm a freshman in some of these things. He's like, has the potential to be a captain, and I'm like, wow, he saw that when I was a freshman. I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff. And the fact that he kept that. And I'm sure he's done that for a lot of players. I remember after I got that package, that care package, I texted Mike Doss, and we ended up talking on the phone. Yeah, sure enough, Doss got a package the next week too. I mean, it was so cool. He had a handwritten letter in the package on Ohio State letterhead, and he said, Foxy, thought you would enjoy this, Coach T. And I was just like, man, that's who he is. And that's who Coach Tressel is. It's so sad that he was vilified for that BS that happened. If that happened today, it wouldn't even make the news. It wouldn't make the news. And Sports Illustrated wanted to make him act like he was like, think about whatever you want, the worst criminal in the world. So we're both lucky that we've had some amazing coaches who not only cared about us on the field, but more importantly cared about us off the field, and have helped us to this day become better fathers to our kids. And certainly have instilled values in us that we carry to this day. And so many people out there have not had that opportunity, and that's what we're so happy and blessed to have received. It's not the scholarship to play football. It's not getting to the NFL. Heck, I don't. We obviously dreamed of playing in the NFL, but never thought that it would become a possibility or a reality. And even with going to school, we knew that after football we were going to be successful because we had a great foundation. We had great morals, and we had great people around us. So with that, I've got to run. You have one question? Go ahead.
Yeah, white men can't jump, right?
Not most.
Don't ask us.
So which one of you had the highest vertical leap?
Here we go.
Well, remember when we talked about how Derek was the greatest athlete that I'd ever seen? My vertical center. All right, thank you guys so much. I really do. I got my show starts in an hour and 15 minutes, and I got an hour drive, so I really do got to go. Derek's going to hang out though for a little bit. Really quick, guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Right. Either one of you guys.
Yes.
I'll try to do both. All right.
We're a bunch of seniors living in our last chapter, and this was the height of entertainment today. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. I appreciate that. We both do. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
My name is Ted, and I've been caddying for 56 years.
Hi, Ted.
And I caddied for you guys about 5 years ago at Brookside Country Club. You guys are two gentlemen, and it was a joy to caddy for you guys. I got to spend 4 hours with you guys on the club.
Oh man.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Huge treat for me.
Who shot better? Who shot better? Come on.
He is the better golfer.
You guys are great golfers.
You haven't looked at my handicap. No, thank you for that. And also, you haven't seen us during our member guest because he wants to kill me like I was in the front yard. So thank you very much. Derek will take over. Appreciate you all.
I do have to chime in on something because I'll never forget this about Tressel.
How did I leave?
And I can't say
it's a good
I can't say enough about this guy. My grandmother was fighting multiple myeloma at the time. She was getting to her like you said, final chapter. And Tressel made sure we had the absolute very best parking pass at the Ohio University. We parked right outside the door, man, and we walked in every time, and that's just the kind of guy he was. Actually, for a long period of time, Tressel was sending me Christmas cards every year because he was thankful for him, and he knew, seriously, he knew that I had a big part in why Dustin had become a Buckeye. As a matter of fact, this is kind of a cool little story. If you remember, later this year, Maurice Hall, if you don't remember, Maurice Hall was a co-captain with Dustin. And we've stayed in touch through social media and some things like that. So he called me a couple months ago and asked me would I be interested in contributing to a project. He's now like an actor, producer, director. He does it all in Hollywood. And he's had some pretty good parts and some pretty big shows. Anyway, he's doing a Christmas movie, and it's called A Heart for Christmas. And Jim Tressel, Coach Tressel, and I are two of really the main 8 investors that helped get this off the ground. It's going to be either on, we don't know for sure who's going to, it's not going to be Hallmark because we can't afford to get it to Hallmark, but it'll be on like BET or True TV or something like that later this year. And it was so cool because I told him, I said, I would love to come be on set. He said, come on out. I'm like, and so I had to go to Scottsdale last week for work, and I didn't want to do the coast to coast thing back to back to back. And so I said, well, how about my daughter Peyton? She's a sweetheart, and he actually got her in the movie, and she got a few lines in the movies that'll be out later this year. So it's kind of cool.
Cole Miller. Cadillac.
Yeah.
All right, Derek, I was going to ask this for both of you, but since Dustin left, this is just for you know, if you play in today's weather, what do you think the transfer portal is a good idea or a bad idea? And what incentivization would recruiters give you to come to their school now?
It's funny, I was actually in my notes to talk about that because my business partner, who is in the Pennsylvania High School Hall of Fame, not just for football, but the High School Athletic Hall of Fame, because he was a 2-time state wrestling champ and 2-time state track champ, as well as an All-American football player who played it. That's my partner, Aaron Gatton. So his son is only a sophomore. He's finishing his sophomore year at Pittsburgh Central Catholic, and he has every scholarship known to man. And we literally talk every day about what's going on with. The portal's a disaster. The NIL stuff, Joe always wanted us to make some cash. I mean, they got to get sort of a cap on that too. I don't know how that goes. That doesn't bother me as much. I actually kind of like that for the kids. I told Aaron, my partner, I said, dude, I said Colson, which is his son, I said, Colson's going to be making more money than us here in a couple of years. Seriously. He's got it narrowed down to probably Notre Dame, Duke, or they really like Nebraska because we're really good friends with Matt Rule. But what we talk about is, hey, listen, we can't pick a school because of the coach. Because you go to Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman could be gone. You go to Duke, Manny Diaz could be gone. We love Manny. He was our coordinator at PSU. So you got to go, in our opinion, what's the best education and that has a really good football program. And so it's tough. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys follow this, but the Federal Trade Commission last week declared that they're going to lift all non-competes for businesses, which I think I call like the transfer portal. I could have sales reps leaving, going. It's a wild, wild west. So I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it at all, because where's the commitment? Where's your commitment? These coaches are going to flee for the NFL because at least in the NFL guys have contracts, right? I got free agency and all that stuff, but at least they're committed. You know they're committed. So hopefully that answered your question.
My senior year, Mark Starr was my coach at Alliance.
No kidding.
And then Woody Hayes spoke at our banquet that year. And then after I graduated from college, I was at Hartford. Then I went to Lincoln, and Warren was there. And I was coaching football, and I got to know him pretty good. Well, when Tim and them came down to play at Buffalo, he got everybody that wanted to go tickets. Mm-hmm. And I was going to go, and I said, I can't go. I gotta stay here because I got to coach. Well, they got up there, and that Saturday it started snowing. They went through, watched the game, and Sunday when they got ready to leave, the roads in Buffalo were all closed. They got snowed in. So they were up there for like 2 or 3 days. They took some personal days, but they still got docked because they couldn't get back.
That's great. That was Patriots were at Buffalo?
Yeah.
New England Patriots, yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, growing up with the family members you did that were in the NFL and football and things like that, do you have any family traditions or special memories from like the Hall of Fame weekend that stand out for you and your family and things that might have done?
Did RJ set this up? I think we started one last year. We really don't. I mean, I make sure 100% to make sure the calendar's blocked every year because we have friends traveling in. We were fortunate enough last year to partake. We went to Joe Thomas's after he received his induction. We went to his party and went to Rondé Barber's party. It was a really, really good night. Met some really, really good people. It was a good night. So, but nothing too crazy. And we joke, Dustin and I, we get along so much better now than we did as kids. We joke, but I think there's a ton of respect between the two for what he's done, for what I've done, and so we keep it above the belt, like I said, and really just trying to spend as much time with my uncles as I can that are still with us. Timmy, he's so much fun to be around, and actually I was on the phone with my aunt because I had to think of the restaurant down in Naples where all the old people hang out. And so she called me back right there. I was on the phone with her, and she said, tell RJ, Tim will speak next year. So we'll get him back, and having 3 of us up here probably a little too much, but we'll just have Tim and we'll watch, you know what I mean? But he said he was committed to next year, and you want to get him because he is great. He has diagnosed CTE. He'll remember what he did in 8th grade or what Woody Hayes said, you know what I mean, at the dinner table, but he can't tell you what he had for breakfast, and he forgets his keys and all that sort of stuff. So he's still a lot of fun, spend as much time as I can with them. but it goes fast. It just goes so fast. Anything else? That was great. It was a lot of fun, you guys. Great audience. Like I said, we appreciate the support in this town, and we know how special this is. So truly, genuinely appreciate it. I saw another question.
Courtney Brown is a roommate. What was he like in college? He was real quiet at the Browns, and he had a little, but what was he like?
God, he's a good human being. He's just a really, really scary person on the football field.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, like a scary, like in the middle of the night when I'm going to the bathroom, see him with that. He's had some unfortunate injuries professionally because, everyone would ask, and it was crazy. I didn't get to go to the combine, which was unfortunate, but it didn't matter because I had so many guys in my class that were going high draft picks that we had every owner, every GM, every head coach was at our senior year pro day, which helped at least get me a free agent contract. But the best of the best of the best, like someone that you would absolutely say if my daughter's dating Courtney Brown, I mean, this guy is a stand-up act. He calls me probably because his wife and I have the same birthday, and he has the same birthday as my grandma Coon. So we do a lot of that stuff, and he's just always so caring and genuine, like gives me goosebumps. So great person. That's it. That's awesome. Thank you guys.